Hey, I'm Sandro, and I have a little story to tell you. It all happened about 3 months ago, so let's move over to that animation part of the video. So it started when my mom asked,
Sandro, do you have a use for this?
That's when I responded with, yeah, maybe. And my dad chimed in saying, "That's complete garbage. You won't be able to do anything with that. Just throw it out." So Dad, that's why this video's for you. So this is what I started with, some ugly looking radio shower thing. It had this bendy arm, this suction, and it was just weird. Now there was a mirror on it, and there was also these dimming lights that I found kind of cool. And embedded in all of this was a radio. So I started taking this apart, and from here I saw the inside guts. Alright, let's pause right there. At this point I had very little idea of what I was actually going to be doing. But because I'm future Sandro, I can tell you that I broke this down into 3 separate projects. So what I'll do is I'll show you one at a time, and we're going to start with project number 1. So for this first project, I started with this bendy arm thing. I took the thing apart and took out all of the unnecessary pieces, like this suction thing here. Now the idea here was to make a third arm that would hold electronics and wires during soldering. The only problem with this right now is that it was too top heavy. So what I did is I traced around some plywood, cut it out with a jigsaw, as you can see with the shot of my elbow right here. Now because everything was rounded, I had to bevel over the edges of the plywood. And then I added this extra part here to screw into. The next step was to attach this alligator clamp. I screwed it in and then applied some glue to hold it in place, and just like that, it was done. Do you struggle with soldering? Do you wish you had a third arm to hold all of the other wires and things? Introducing the Solder Buddy. The Solder Buddy is built with patented technology, making it very easy to solder things.
I take the solder buddy with me everywhere I go. I even take it into the washroom with me. I just love my solder buddy. Thank you, solder buddy.
Call now to order the Solder Buddy. With 4 easy payments of free, this could be yours. If you can understand what the guy says if it's part of the video, then you know what I'm saying. Alright, so that was project number 1. Now project number 2 might have something to do with this little light over here. Let me just dim that a bit. So for project 2, I wanted to utilize the dimming light. I started by drilling out the battery pack. Now this would have been a whole lot easier with a Dremel, but I made do. I cleaned up all of the edges using the bandsaw. From here I then sanded them smooth. The next thing I did was cut a little notch from the chipboard. This is what's going to be held onto my camera. This will all make sense in a bit. I screwed this onto the plastic casing and drilled a hole for the potentiometer. Once securing everything in place, I then began to solder everything back together. The next step was to solder the battery pack and mount it to the back of the case. From here, I applied some glue to stick the mirror back onto the casing. And just like that, I had a perfectly functioning camera thing that I could turn and dim lighting and light stuff and see me thing. Alright, so project number 2 is done. Now the third one probably took me the longest to even consider what the hell I was even going to do, just because I was working with actual literal garbage. I ended up keeping scraps and everything, all the little bits and pieces. So I needed to find something to do with this, so let's go into that one now. So like I said earlier, I didn't throw anything out. I kept all of the plastic shavings, all of the pieces, all of the little parts. I started by taking out some of the valuable parts, like the buttons and the switches and all of that, because I'm going to be using these later. The next thing I did is I put everything back in the bag and then just beat everything with a hammer, until I had shower radio confetti. Essentially what I'm going to be doing here is making a picture frame. Now the idea behind this picture is to have all the garbage and stuff on display. Luckily I had this sheet of glass from an old scanner that I took apart years ago. I cut down the frame on the table saw first, and then cut everything down to size using the chop saw. From here the glass fit perfectly. The next step was to put the frame together. I drilled a couple holes, put a couple screws in, and you know how it goes. Once the frame was done, I then needed to make a case in the back of the picture to hold all of the contents. And here's a shot and videos of me building it. So this little piece here that I'm putting on, I actually used to hold the glass in place, as you can see here. Once I was happy with the size and everything, I then glued and brad nailed everything together. Now what I wanted to do is have it play music also. So I bought this little audio chip off of Amazon, loaded some songs about being environmentally friendly and recycling and that, and put all of that onto an SD card. From here, I soldered a speaker and some of the volume knobs and the buttons that I had from the shower radio. I then began to put the picture frame and all the electronics together. To protect the electronics, I put some packing tape to cover it all. The next step is I used spray adhesive to hold all of the garbage in place. I sprayed some on and then dumped out everything I had within the bag. Once I was happy where everything was, I printed out a quote and stuck it onto the glass. I shoved the glass back in and then closed everything up. The last step was to stain the wood. And there you have it, a picture of garbage stuff thing. A lot of things going on in this video. Alright, so that's it. So Dad, by now I should have probably already given you this thing. Lucky for you, you get to hang that ugly ass radio thing on your wall for the rest of your life. Because you can't throw out kids' Father's Day presents. I mean, like, probably still have some from years ago. Anyways, happy Father's Day, and every father out there, keep fathering. Alright, take it easy. You know what, one more thing before I go. The main reason for this video and the main idea that I want everybody to take from this is that you can find opportunity in literally anything, even garbage radio shower things. Anyways, that's the real buy. Take it easy.